have the most affordable housing of any major city in Canada. We're the 14th largest sort of settlement area by census in Canada. So average price right now is down 20% year over year. That's going to look a lot worse unless something changes in February, March. Like I would say probably you're going to see that going up to like 30% down, 35% down year over year. It's going to look really bad. But the opportunity is rents didn't go down.
Nope.
Rents are still creeping up slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the property values came down. So guess what, guys? There's lots of cash flow again. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity for investors.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Jeff Barker, this is Dakota Warkentin, and we are the co-founders of Opinicon Investments.
At Opinicon Investments, we are passionate about helping people grow their wealth and achieve their financial freedom goals through investing in real estate. And today on the channel, we have the amazing Rhys. How are you doing today, Rhys?
Yeah, everything's good. Yeah, you don't usually hear amazing and my name in the same sentence. So we'll take your embellishment.
I think it's deserved.
Yeah.
So Rhys, tell us a little bit about who you are and what we're going to be talking about today on the channel.
Yep, Rhys Trenhaile. I am a real estate agent down in Windsor, Ontario. My gray hair proves that I've been in the business for over 20 years.
It's a good look.
Yeah, I've got a team of 7 real estate agents. Each one of them has a specific niche within investment. Real estate investment strategy. So in essence, what we do for the Windsor area is the vast majority of our client base does not live in Windsor. They live either GTA, Vancouver, or somewhere else. And we make sure for the last 20 years when they come down here that they're set up properly. They have somebody that's an expert in what they want to invest in. And we're investors ourselves, which is mandatory on the team. And
Perfect.
so we're able to set them up like we set ourselves up for long-term wealth through bricks and mortar, through the real estate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very helpful as an investor when you have a realtor who understands the investing world and is investing themselves, because it's kind of a different beast than, you're a single family home buying their forever home type of a strategy. It's very different. So it's nice when you have someone who knows the space.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the channel before, but basically, I mean, if you're trying to invest in real estate with a residential real estate agent, it's not that they're going to try to screw you up or they're not going to try to get you the right properties. It's just they don't know. Yeah. And when they get you the property, even if it is the right property, they're residential agents. They don't have the mentality to stick around like a financial advisor. Their mentality is, okay, I took care of them. Now I got to take care of the next people, and pew, they're gone.
It's very transactional, right?
It's very transactional.
Yeah.
Whereas with income property real estate agents, we're relationship based. Mm-hmm. And the constant thought is this the right property to build this person's portfolio based on the plan we put together? Because if it's not, and this is the selfish capitalistic side of it, if it's not, then we just not only screwed up that client, we screwed up ourselves. Because now you're setting that person back from generating wealth and buying more income properties, which is more commissions.
Yeah.
From our perspective.
Yeah.
So there's a whole win-win reward system for that real estate agent that has the investment strategy mentality, mm-hmm. right? There's something in it for us to make you wealthy, and we understand that, right?
Yeah.
And it really, there's just a small group of us, and I've never said this on the channel before. When I first started the business, I'm like, wow, why is there so few of me, real estate mm-hmm. agents selling income properties in Ontario?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What it is the real estate agents are also investors. They get wealthy and then they retire.
They don't need to do the real estate agent anymore.
So we all disappear basically.
It's true.
Yeah.
This is why, like, I joke around about having the white hair. There's not a lot of old income property real estate agents that are going to take on new investors. They have their base, their investor base that they've all made wealthy. They're probably investing together. They probably have their own portfolios, and they're just not going to be available to you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I do have a younger team. A lot of them are in their 30s and 40s, and there's already 2 of us out of the 7 that don't need to sell real estate anymore.
Yeah. So you still have some that are really hungry. That's good.
Yeah. You got to bring in some new blood.
Yeah.
You'll see Rhys Wyn slide later in the video, but he is the first new agent on the team in 5 years.
Wow.
Everybody's been on the team 5 years to 18 years.
That's good. That's a lot of experience, which is what investors need, is that experience. And a lot of knowledge about the market that they're in. So I'm actually really interested to hear about what's happening in the Windsor market, because I know as an investor, there's a lot of people that are heading to the Windsor market. It's not necessarily a market that we've jumped into, but I know it's one that we've looked at. So I'm interested to know.
We've talked about it.
We've talked about it, yeah. So I'm interested to hear about what's happening in the Windsor market, and maybe a bit about why investors are flocking there as well.
Yeah, investors were always coming down here for the last 20 years. I think what has changed is the internet. And so what happens now is that I'm noticing that this false stigma of Windsor is dissipating with time, because so many people have moved down here, and people can see photos on the internet, etc. They know that living down here is actually quite good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the most affordable housing of any major city in Canada. We're the 14th largest sort of settlement area by census in Canada. When you look at the percentage of your income that goes to putting a roof over your head, it's the lowest percentage of all the major cities, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing for rent. So when you have a booming city, and we've done this ad nauseum on the channel, but I think everybody at this point, if you've watched some of my videos, you know that this is just a nice economic growth coming up. This is like literally generational change, where you're probably going to see the population of Windsor double over the next 20 years. You have to see how huge this battery plant is. I drove by it the other day. Holy meatballs. It is huge. It's basically going to be able to create more battery power than the entire manufacturing capacity of the United States.
Wow.
Including Elon Musk.
It sounds like a lot of jobs. That
does sound like a lot of jobs.
That's how big it is, and then the supply chain has to be close by of these other factories that support, because with the batteries as they're being manufactured and battery casings, etc., being added to this thing, they don't want the batteries being transported too far because of the fragility. So the city right now the city and county are looking for 200 acres, to assemble it for all these other companies that want to move here to support the plant. And so there's a greater safety of investment from all of this. And it's not just about the battery plant and the modernization and the technology and all those things. We still remain the world center for tool, die, and mold making. We are the innovators. Like Boston Medical needs a part that nobody else in the world can make. It's made in Windsor every time.
Sounds very industrial.
Yeah. And that's one of the huge benefits of Windsor, right? Like I know we have because we're primarily in Ottawa, so that's kind of our focus. And there's a town called Cornwall, which is kind of right on the border of the States as well. And they kind of reap that same reward, where they have actually people who will live in Cornwall and work in the States. So they have that benefit of people that will actually cross the border. And I don't know if you find that in Windsor as well.
There's over 5,000 nurses who live in Windsor, work in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think in total there's almost 20,000 of us. That 15,000. A lot of them are engineers, like my brother-in-law. Best man at my wedding is a senior vice president of one of the biggest paint companies in the world, Exalta. But they live here and they work. They're Canadians. They're born and raised in Windsor, but they live here. They work in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, there's tons of a diversification of economy stuff going on here. we're going to have one of the 2 battery research and development facilities in the world, 650 engineers and PhDs.
Amazing.
Nice. All right.
Love it.
So it's a lot of good info, and thanks for that on
Yeah.
Windsor. Do you want to dive into some of the stats that you have?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the
See
presentation.
the numbers.
Let's see
See the
it.
numbers. So yeah, that's my team. It's the Vanguard team, and you'll see the contact information will keep coming up on the slides. So as you guys need. Oh, and I think it's down below too, and underneath the video on YouTube, it'll have all our links.
Perfect.
So this is the saddest looking graph you're ever going to see. Because it's only January and we couldn't. So yeah, I think we're pulling this information off of the Windsor Essex Real Estate Board. I don't want to make up these graphs ourselves because I don't want anybody thinking we're manipulating this. Like we're just taking the data from the local board. So this is how they're presenting it right now.
I'm sure it's more overwhelming in December.
Yes.
It is very exciting by December. This chart, I assure you. Yeah. But the big thing here, guys, is that the sales are down about 50% over last year, which makes total sense because January through March 31st last year, I call it the stupids. Like we were literally telling our investors to pump the brakes unless it was something exceptional.
Yeah, we were seeing the same thing in Ottawa here.
Yeah.
So I can understand
the
that.
property values between January 1st, 2022 and March 31st, 2022 went up 36% in Windsor. Okay, that's just dumb. That's just stupid. It's unsustainable. Yeah, it was just such an obvious bubble. I was just telling as many clients that would listen, like, just wait. Right, this is going to correct itself, and it did. The property values ended up, I think, about from January 1st last year to the end of last year, they ended up about 5 or 6%. And guess what the Canadian historical average is since 1867 Confederation?
I wonder what it's going to be.
5%. The straight line. So it went crazy, but the bottom line is it went up 5%, and it's kind of calculated to go up another 5 to 8% this year.
Yep.
Right. So the advantage here, guys, is that basically you still have a lot of market activity, right? Which is this slide here. So you still have a lot of listings hitting the market, etc. But not every single one of them is getting scooped up.
Right.
So what it affords is more opportunity, fewer buyers to compete with for the best opportunities available, right? And bear in mind, these numbers don't include the fact that we do a lot of exclusive sales, like in pocket listings.
Okay.
Right.
So like literally in January, I looked it up before the what is this? The webcast, podcast? I don't know what you call it. What do you kids call these things?
We'll call it the channel.
The
We'll
channel.
call it before
Today.
It's a channel.
Yeah.
Before we got on the channel today on these series of tubes called the internet, we looked it up. Like, we've got about 4 additional sales on there, which shouldn't be a lot, but ends up becoming quite significant if a few other teams are also doing the same thing. But we do a lot of in-pocket sales as well that don't show up on these numbers.
Okay,
Right.
so that's not hitting MLS then, technically.
Yeah, this is just what the MLS can see. So average price right now is down 20% year over year. That's going to look a lot worse unless something changes in February, March, because those numbers kept going up in 2022. So you can expect that number to look really bad coming up. Yeah. Like I would say probably you're going to see that going up to like 30% down, 35% down year over year. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to look really bad. But the opportunity is investors need to remember rents didn't go down.
Nope.
Rents are still creeping up slowly.
Yep.
And the property values came down. So guess what, guys? There's lots of cash flow again. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity for investors.
So I already went through this with the market activity. So yes, your sales are down by 50%, but the listings are still there for the taking. There's just more opportunity now.
Yeah.
And we've been getting some excellent deals done, guys. Like we've got people building, they're buying houses. They're adding mother-in-law suites into the basement. A lot of them are cash flowing over $1,000 a month.
Yep.
Those.
We actually have a project right now that we're adding 2 units to a basement.
There you go. 2 units to a basement.
Yeah.
2 1-bedrooms.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential with getting these single family homes and adding units, right? Because you're
Yeah.
increasing the value significantly, they cash flow better. It's not necessarily, our focus is more on the like purpose built 10 plus unit space, but there's still opportunity here as well with
Big time.
family homes.
Well,
You can add units to.
a lot of people watching these videos I notice are, in the early stages of investment,
Mhm.
right? I'm going to get into that a little bit in this video, but I mean, what a great way to build up your wealth quickly, which is house plus ADU. If you don't want to do the construction element, and if it's your first investment ever, I don't recommend it because of the added complexity.
Mhm.
Especially if you've never invested out of town before and stuff, just get the duplex. Learn to be a landlord from out of town.
Yeah.
Make sure your team is the right team.
Yes.
Make your rookie mistakes for the first 6 months. And then we can talk about adding complexity. Do you know what I mean?
And if you can live in it as well to house hack, then that can really help. So we lived in the upper unit of one and converted the basement into an apartment. So that
Story of
helped
my life.
our I was going to say rent, our mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm sure we're preaching from the same pulpit, but yeah, I spent a lot of my life living in the house hacking. Yeah, living in the
Great way to get started for sure.
Residential units sold in January. I always love pointing this out because I'm going to get my nose on this. But look at all the houses selling for under 400 grand, guys.
Wow.
Right?
That's incredible.
Like half of them.
That looks like a nice, some nice units to put. And if these are potential for putting in a basement unit, this is a great price range for that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Stephanie is our specialist on our team that focuses on burst strategy and ADUs. So she knows the local bylaws, etc., like the back of her hand. She does them herself with her fiance. And you're right. 300 to 350 grand is pretty much her sweet spot for that stuff. Yeah. And a lot of these duplexes are selling for 300, 350, 400. Although Steve Gerouge, who does all our sales from 2 units to 6 units, he just sold a duplex for 507,000 this week. And it's just like, man, I haven't seen that in a year. It's a very nice one. It's a very nice one, but I haven't.
Sounds like it might have been recently renovated.
Yeah, that seems hefty for a duplex in Windsor, but hey.
Yeah, main floor unit you can eat off, certainly. Yeah. Yeah. And if you wanted to, and I don't recommend it, but you could put a third unit in the basement. And I'm without knowing the buyers, I suspect that's what's going on. Is they're going to put a third non-conforming unit in the basement, and then that thing's cash flowing like a truck. Yeah.
Well, it could be conforming with Bill 23, right? You can have 3 units under one roof.
Our local bylaws in Windsor still haven't allowed a duplex to have an ADU. Believe it or not, you can have a house.
Conversation for another time, but they're not really allowed to block it
because of provincial law.
They're not giving you the permit, but
correct.
They're not supposed to.
Correct. Sure. Yeah, but I'm not going to go on record. Right. But yeah, you're right. When I built, so I had a house on Riverside Drive before my wife and I got our dream home, which was a stroke of luck like you wouldn't believe. But the house previous was a backsplit 3-level. And in the back basement, we put the mother-in-law suite. But we did it as Greg Atkinson at the city was writing the bylaws to match the provincial law for ADUs.
Right.
And he legit told me, he goes, yeah, just make sure it's the code. Like, we can't stop you.
Yeah.
Because provincial law allows you.
Yeah.
Right. But they don't have the bylaws updated yet. So I always say, the lawyer in me says, be careful, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. And try to work with your city as much as possible. It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's funny. We kind of almost segued into this. We almost did. I wanted to just quickly talk about sort of a lack of funds for growth. Because a lot of the people that are reaching out to us, kudos to them. They've already saved up a ton of money, right? And they're mentally ready and they can get pre-approved for a mortgage, but they don't have enough to do that house plus ADU, or they're just not quite there for whatever reasons. So I wanted to quickly just run through your options. If you're trying to get started, you're mentally ready, you've done your education, you want to invest in Windsor, how do you get there, right? And so I'm going to really quickly run through this just because I know we're getting squeezed for time. My first one, I bought with one of my closest friends. I was 22 years old, he was 20. We bought a student rental property.
Love it.
Right. I didn't have enough, he didn't have enough, but together we had enough. Right. And then we convinced our two dads to co-sign the mortgage.
Awesome.
Yeah. They weren't too happy about it, but we got it done. Yeah. So even right now with my downtown projects, I don't own any of those projects 100%. I'm either 50-50 with Greg Mayel or I'm with the Real Estate Income Trust.
Partnership is huge. That's how we operate as well, as partnership.
Partnerships, yeah. So you'll find a lot of people are very successful on partnering up, especially if you start becoming like the Windsor expert in your sort of sphere of influence back home. It's now easier to pull other people in as well, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Very famous bank, the Bank of Mom and Dad. They're all over the world. They're global.
Yeah.
Sometimes under your same roof. Sometimes.
Yeah. So if you're short, friends and family, right?
Yeah.
Just beg, borrow, and steal from whoever you can. Just make sure you're buying a good property because it's somebody else's money, right? A HELOC is a homeowner's line of credit. So we have a lot of people digging into their equity. And when the market was stupid a year ago, that wouldn't make any sense because you're paying interest on that money and you're paying interest on the mortgage. And the numbers didn't make sense. But now that the cash flows are nice and big again because the property value dropped without the drop in rents, now using your homeowner's line of credit makes financial sense again, especially if you're doing BRRRR strategy, because you can keep that money moving, right?
Mhm.
Moving to Windsor plays into what Jeff said. Live in your house hack, right?
Yes.
Live in the house that you are going to add a unit to, or you're going to do some value add or whatever, or maybe you're just going to buy a duplex or a triplex and live in it.
Yep.
Because now you can get a higher loan to value mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right.
And your mortgage could be subsidized like entirely. Buy a fourplex, move into one of the units. The other 3 units can pay for your mortgage.
Yeah. Anybody, you can see my email address on here. If anybody wants the ebook that we've written on that, just send me an email and I'll send you back the ebook and I'll put you in touch with Jason Balsden that specializes in that. Because people are shocked how many jobs are available down here based on what their skill sets are. We're desperate for jobs we're desperate for workers down here.
Sounds like opportunity to me.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, with all respect to the more we have the highest net disposable incomes in Canada. We have access to more money more access to more amenities than any Canadian city because we're next door to the 10th largest city in the United States, Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That, and it's not just about sports teams and restaurants, etc. They have the 4th largest art history museum in North America. There is nothing in Toronto or Ottawa that compares to the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's not even close.
Interesting.
Right. There's a whole cultural shift in Detroit as well. It is going through a renaissance like you wouldn't believe. It is an absolute blast. It is so much fun to live in this area right now. We have more boats per capita than anywhere in Canada. We have the hottest, sunniest weather. Right. We have 6 more weeks of summer down here than Toronto. And we're not stuck in a car on an average commute of 80 minutes each way.
I think that should be your first selling point, actually.
Yeah.
What's that?
That the weather,
especially in February.
That should be your first selling point.
As we are doing this video, it's plus 16 in winter on February 15th. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So yes, it's nice. It's nice, man. Yeah, we're on the other side of the jet stream, so we get the warmer American air, and we don't get the snow. Yeah, where the snow belt starts about 100 kilometers north of us in Chatham. So
that's a bonus.
So yeah, you can move down here, and I can tell you right now, we call it Hotel California, because if you move down here for a 6-month contract and then you're going home, we always laugh. You're not
leaving
home. Like once you get a taste of the life down here, you're not.
Interesting.
You're not. I don't know what I know. It sounds weird to somebody from the GTA, but there's my Gaelic shrug.
Try it, see what happens.
Yeah, they don't go home, man. And then there's also buy properly. I'll show you a slide right now of buy properly. It's called fractional investment into real estate. So if you only have 20 grand and you're that far away and you can't go to the bank of mom and dad, you can't get started, you could do fractional investment into investment properties. And then same thing with private equity. You can invest in a company that's investing in real estate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll show you two quick examples of that because I think we've only got a few minutes to go. So that's buyproperly.ca. And we've got our first Windsor property on there.
Is this only in Windsor? Where is this buyproperly.ca?
No, they do a lot of GTA properties,
GTA,
Hamilton,
okay.
etc. And now they've just reached out to us over the last few months to start putting up the Windsor properties.
Okay.
So you can fractionally invest in this condo in Windsor that's in a very nice location and right across from a park, right on, walkable to all kinds of restaurants and stores, etc. And the projected return on investment is 50%, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So if you don't have the money, but you want to get started, and you don't want to risk the stock market, I would go to buyproperly.ca and invest into Windsor that way.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah, very cool.
And really quickly, this is my private equity stuff, but we're actually in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, not just Windsor, Ontario. So I'm
Wow.
not going to go into heavy depth right now, but we bought this hotel here in downtown Rio. Much like in downtown Windsor, they're desperate for residential density in the downtown core. So they have like 900,000 people that work downtown every day in Rio. They have 44,000 residential units. It's crazy.
Oh, boy.
They don't have the residential density. So they're providing all kinds of incentives, et cetera, for us to convert this into condos. So we're going to do
Cool.
24
Yeah, it's a nice looking
condo.
building.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Spanish neoclassical. It's gorgeous, man.
Yeah.
It's got a history. Like, this is the hotel that the Brazilian presidents used to stay at, and all the big movie stars, et cetera, back in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so it does have
what a
history.
selling feature.
Yeah. It's the second last eyesore on the block. The old Salvation Army hospitals, the last eyesore after we fixed this one up. And it's right across the street from Rio de Janeiro's #1 cancer center.
Nice.
So, we're going to be able to rent out, and we're
Mhm.
going to rent out that property, no problem. And return on investment to the investors about 82, 83% over a short period of time. I mean, you're talking about less than 2 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you can contact you can contact me about that stuff too, guys.
Amazing.
All right. Really quickly, Jason Balsden, he's the guy that focuses on people like investors relocating to Windsor Essex, or if you're stuck, you're approved for a $400,000 mortgage in the GTA and you're renting. If you're going to stay in the GTA, you're probably going to keep renting, but you can buy down here and invest down here. And that's what Jason specializes in. He's got so this is an ugly single family house. This used to be another unit in the front, right? So the idea is to bring this back into 2 rentable units as the tenant moves out. So the cash flows right now with the tenant, but when the tenant moves out, you create 2 units and you give this a facelift.
Mhm.
I don't have the interior photos of this place on this slide. It's gorgeous inside. Gleaming hardwood floors and beautiful neutral walls, and it's great. But you bring it back to 2 units, and it's right across from a park. It's right by Little Italy. It's right by Ottawa Street, which is another beautiful road. There's an outdoor ice rink right across the street. There's schools all surrounding this property, and it's in a middle-class neighborhood. Right?
Yeah.
And your asking price is $334 with a huge value add component.
Just needs some exterior work by the sounds of it as well.
Right.
That's your
Right.
first impression, right? That's huge. So
Yeah. And I
Enough
promised better
exterior.
photos during the day. Jason rushed this photo for the presentation today, so he took it last night. So it might look like it's out of that show Wednesday on Netflix, but
looks a little eerie. Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking for Wednesday to walk across there. But
There you go.
Yeah.
so that's it, guys. That's it. That's all for me.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a great update on Windsor, and I think we learned a lot. I learned a lot about Windsor, so that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So I know you just flashed your contact information, but Rhys, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I think all the contact information is down below, but if you remember anything, just Google the Vanguard team.com or the Vanguard team on Google, and we'll pop up on the search results.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, and if you want to get a hold of us at all, so again, we're Opinicon Investments. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're also on YouTube now, so check out our YouTube channel. And Rhys, thank you so much for the chat today. we learned a lot about Windsor. It was great to hear an update. And I don't know, we might look into Windsor a little bit more now than we have before.
Of
The
course.
salesman sold you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I really believe in this community, and it is wonderful to watch the potential for the city, the reality for the city catching up to the potential for the city. This was a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds like it has a lot of potential.
Oh, its golden years are the golden years are here. The next 20 years, all the professionals talk like, yeah, I've got what 20 years left in business. Like I'm set for the rest of my career. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for the chat today, and until next time.
We'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.